Let's do it. Fantasia Burley, what's up?
What's up, y'all? What is going on, people?
What's up, YouTube world? Welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to have you here. My name is Quentin Torbert, and this is...
My name is Fantasia Burley from Slay Your Life.
That's it. I'm so excited to bring you this next video. Right now, we're in the middle of this pandemic. It's craziness. Everyone's locked into their house, which is why we're recording this video virtually as opposed to in person. But we're going to make it work. God is still in control, and we're going to have a great conversation about relationships.
Yes, glory. Y'all ain't seen Quentin in a minute, so y'all excited to get a video from the young lad.
I haven't posted anything on my channel for a minute, so I got a little bit of quiet time now, so you should see a few more videos, but no promises. But hopefully you have more videos from me. But we're excited. One of our favorite pastors is named Pastor Mike Todd from Transformation Church in Oklahoma, and he has a new relationship series called Relationship Goals Reloaded. He had about a couple years ago, I think 3 years ago, he had one series. And so now he has like the reloaded version where he wrote a book about it. And so he went into more detail about it. So that's what Fantasia and I are. Oh, see, you got the book and everything. You ready?
Ready.
You ready for these positive relationships. And so we're hoping that we can kind of give advice to you guys and kind of share what we thought of the sermon. And hopefully maybe you'll talk about the book a little bit and dive right in. So let's get right started. Pastor Mike Todd, first off, how amazing is he?
Okay, first of all, y'all, listen, let me tell y'all why I absolutely love me some Pastor Mike Todd. I think what's so important these days is a lot of times we lose people when we present God in such a way that makes him seem so impossible, just so out of reach and so out of touch, especially when you think about the things that you've done in your life and people are talking to you and trying to lead you to Christ. And it's like, as they're telling you all of these things, Christ said you shouldn't do this, or the Bible says you shouldn't do that, the Bible says you shouldn't do this, but then so it's like they're trying to lead you, but in reality, that's kind of making you feel like you need to kind of back further away because you feel so unworthy of just reaching this Christ that people talk about, this King, this Savior that people just talk about, that's just so perfect. Like why would he love somebody like me? Then you meet somebody like Pastor Mike Todd, who takes the things that are constantly in our face, pop culture, like all kind of stuff, takes that stuff, utilize where we currently are to get you to see like, okay, this is where you are. Christ can meet you there too. Wow. So he uses a lot of things that are like relevant, to what we know and the things that we are always constantly involved in. And he like literally brings Christ to meet us exactly there. And for me, it's so big because it shows like, listen, it does not matter what part, where you at in your life, like Christ desires a relationship with you and he desires like intimacy with you. And he wants you to know that you are his, like no matter how jacked up or how far gone you feel like you may be. So he is like, he is the king of like putting that in front of your face. And that speaks volumes to me when somebody could take a Drake song and it's like, turn me right back to Christ. You know what I'm saying? So he's so gifted in that area. Like God truly blessed him in the way that he's allowed him to be able to speak to people, get on people's level with them and get them to understand like, okay, you may be here, but let me show you how to go from here and you can still go to Christ. Now you ain't got to go do all of this and go turn back around and go do all of that. And no, you can go from here and still go to Christ. So I think that's so profound. And just how he...
Maybe because he's kind of in our age group, but he just speaks on our level, like you're just saying. Like
that is true. But he's touching people like outside of our age group with how he just puts Christ into like a different perspective.
He comes in a different way. Like there's some pastors I love them. Like one of my favorites, Bishop T.D. Jakes. I have so many of his books. I have so many of his sermons, but a lot of times with his sermons, I have to go and like have a dictionary because he's using such elevated language that goes right over my head sometimes. And that's good because it's good to grow, but sometimes you need things that are a little bit more simple and easier to digest. So that's why I love Pastor Mike Todd. And also I feel like he has like a really good heart. Like I don't know if you feel this way, but
I feel that way, absolutely.
Glory. Even at the beginning of this relationship series, the first part of it, he says like he's not doing this for likes, he's doing this for longevity. So he talked about how his first video went viral, and that was never his intention. Like it's not his intention to be quote unquote famous. And so he's doing this because he actually has a heart for God, and he wants to see people like come out of their darkness, come out of their brokenness. And so I want to meet Pastor Mike Todd. I want to meet you. I'm putting that in the universe. I want to meet you one day.
Friend, speak it. We manifesting that thing, because when I tell you we're going to Tulsa, we're going to Tulsa.
I'm excited.
We're going to meet Pastor Mike Todd.
Conference, right? I don't know about this year because there's too much Corona going on, too much sickness, but maybe 2021.
Yeah, I claim it. We're going. We're going.
Yeah. So one of his big points in his first videos was the idea of principles. Do you want to shed a little bit of light on principles? I know for me, I didn't really think about the word principles too much, and he broke it down for us.
So he definitely did break it down, and I'm just like you. So when he was saying, I had to run that thing back a few times because I was like, hold on, wait a second. So you guys, he was just really talking about like just principles in each situation that you could possibly go through. So one of the things that he uses is the principle of gasoline. So when you're driving and you run out of gas, you're not gonna like pray about running out of gas, or so-and-so, pray to God, somebody send the petrol right now. He was just like really like going in on that, because he was just like, those are principles. Like, the principle for your car to run is that you have to have gas. So like, okay, if you ain't got no gas, what's gonna happen? So basically, go ahead.
I said we're gonna run out.
Yeah, you're gonna run out. So basically where he was going with that is, there's principles, just as there's principles apply, like you can apply to your everyday life, there's principles that are also applied to the word as well. So he was just like, you won't know those principles until you're actually spending time and getting into the word. Mm-hmm. So talk about like some of the some of the principles that we missed with like the word. In areas where we're constantly like praying and asking for things, and it's just like, okay, what's God's principle concerning that thing?
Exactly. There's so many areas, and he even kind of touched on this before. His goal is that you be in God's word so much that you won't have to pray on every single thing. And let me explain that, because somebody who's listening to that, they may say, what? The pastor's telling you not
like
to.
What you talking about? Yeah.
He said things that you reading the word so much, it's like going to your spirit so much that you have to pray every single time, because it'll just be a part of you. It'll just become second nature. And I love that. And there's just so many areas of it. I also love how he broke down the actual word of principle, how I didn't know principle meant first. So like we have like a princess, it's the first. And he used the definition of, I think it was Satan was the prince of darkness. So he's like
ignorance.
And then I think darkness in Hebrew is it darkness?
Ignorant.
Yeah. Or ignorance.
Yeah, ignorance.
Yeah, darkness in Hebrew is ignorance. So essentially, Satan is the prince of ignorance. And how true is that? There's so many areas that we know we should be stronger in God, and we're just ignorant to those facts. And we kind of just let those things slide off the back. And I think those are the areas where like the devil attacks us harder and harder. Those areas where we're ignorant in.
Very much so. Very much. Because think about it. Okay, so since we're discussing relationships, just think about any relationship that you've been in, right? And you come out on the other end and you reflect back on like things that transpired in the relationship that wasn't aware to you during that time. Would you chalk that up to an area of ignorance?
Sure. It's so tough saying that I'm ignorant, because I'm very intelligent. I'm the smartest man I know. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I definitely have ignorant points for sure. What about you?
And then, so the same for me. Like when I look back, because as soon as he said that, being that his whole thing and his whole speech right now is really encouraging people to step their relationship game up. Like, in order for you to win in relationships, like, where did relationships come from? And it's just like, in order for you to get relationships right in the way that they're intended to be, your relationship with Christ needs to be in alignment before anything you try and do with anybody else, because that's a reflection of what's going to flow over into anything else that you try and do. So he started talking about that, and I'm like, dang, I look back at every relationship, like all of them, and I was just like, look at all of the relationships, every last one of them, okay? And I'm just like, you was real ignorant, and I can definitely pinpoint a lot of times where Satan had his hand moving in a lot of different things. And I was just like, wow, like, we're all victims of his tricks and his traits without us even realizing it. But it goes back to what he was saying. You have to educate yourself upon God's principles, so you're not subject to ignorance. And that thing right there took me out, y'all. Because when I tell you every last one of them was ignorant, they was all ignorant. Listen,
free.
Set me free. Give me the book, okay?
That's so funny. And I took notes during his sermon about principles. And so one of the things he was saying is that principle is the first foundational and original law. Essentially, that principle is something that comes first. And so one of the things that we have to do first is, like we said earlier, get in the Word. I love this season during the corona pandemic because now it has forced me that I have like quiet time and we're all quarantined away from the world. It has forced me to go into the Bible more and pray more and just be more in tune with God more. And so I think when I'm more in tune with God, I'm more in tune with myself. So I love that. That's something that has to come first. If that makes sense. So I love that. Now, it's kind of strange when we look at this whole sermon series. It seems like it would be odd doing it right now. So a lot of pastors right now, because we're going through the pandemic, a lot of them are focusing on like sermons about how to be worry-free and how to have more joy and how to like kind of keep your happiness, keep your joy. So when I first saw that he was releasing this relationship series, I thought it was kind of odd. But then when I was going through the sermon series, it makes complete sense because once we have a foundational knowledge of the Bible, we have a close relationship with God, and then that spills over into the relationships, and then that spills over into our life. And so it kind of all like mixes together, where to have like a happy and joyful life, we need this foundational thing first. So
I absolutely agree. And then even to piggyback off of what you said, to even take it a step further. So Pastor Mike Todd's been promoting his book being released since last year. None of us knew anything about coronavirus coming, being a thing. So for me, I was like, wow, look at how God works. He releases a book and starts preaching a sermon about relationship goals, where so many wives and husbands are locked in the house together. So many parents are forced to spend all this additional time with their children than they would normally would. And so many people, relationships are struggling big time because people are forced to be around their significant others in a whole different way. Some people have lost jobs that have added different type of stress onto families. So many people are going through so many different things right now in this current season. And instead of him preaching about worrying and, all of this other things, he's coming, listen, let me teach you how to get relationships right. You and your significant other sitting in the same house. Y'all got all this extra time. Y'all don't even know how to talk to each other because y'all are used to coming and going. And your kids, you drop them out to school. You're in such a routine that you guys have forgot how to connect with people. And now that you're forced to, like, let's talk about how you do so and how to have better relationships. So when I thought about that, I was like, whoa, I don't have any kids or significant other. Yes, I don't have any kids or a significant other right now, but I can only imagine, like, even my mom, for instance, my siblings are at home because they lost jobs and they aren't, they're constantly around her and they driving her crazy. So imagine that for like a family or you and a significant other, any type of relationship where you're used to the hustle and bustle constantly and now you're stuck having to be around that person a lot. This time it's either going to make or break families. So I think it's so like intentional, like God really just had his hand moving in the whole play out of when this series was supposed to come out. So I think that's so cool.
I didn't think about it in that way. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's gonna make you or break you. Because we're quarantined, we have nothing else to focus on. And so this is gonna nothing I was in there. So I would advise all of you is like this should be your time of like complete peace. And there's so much craziness. The death toll's going up, then death toll's going down. The media's saying this, the media's saying that. I think this is your time to kind of get in your quiet place, and like really focus on the things that are most important to you. And like for me, that's definitely family and health and fitness and my relationship with God. So I would encourage anybody to kind of get in that and stay in that.
Absolutely. So what did you think about how he was just talking about like the peace that just kind of overcomes you once you understand the principles. I love this principle thing, y'all. So we can go back here for a second.
It's so good. And I took more notes about, like, he spent the majority of the time on principles. And it's so, you have to get the principles first. And I wrote down 4 of his points where these are the principles of the creator. Number 1, knowledge. Number 2, understanding. Number 3, obedience. And number 4, application. So I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the back. Number 1, knowledge. 2, understanding. The next one's obedience. And then the last one is application. And all those are so relevant. Let's talk about knowledge. Why is it so important, you think, to get knowledge in the season? When it comes to relationships and being quarantined, like why should we get knowledge?
Listen, if you don't know no better, you can't do no better. Point blank, simple. If you don't know better, you can't do better. And just think about the peace that you can gain from just simply knowing. Simply knowing, simply having knowledge, simply being aware. Think about the peace that overcomes you. You settle fear, you settle worry. Like the fact of you knowing and just having that simple knowledge, like you shooting so many different attacks down and simply knowing.
God's peace passes all understanding. That's the thing that just popped in my spirit when you were saying that. His peace. That's a word for the season because it's so much crazy.
Yeah.
So that piece is something that is doing it. The next one is understanding, which I think that really goes hand in hand with knowledge.
I think so too.
Is important. I know there's a Bible verse that says, "In all that get," I think it's in Proverbs. It says, "In all that getting, get understanding." And one of my childhood pastors, Pastor Billy H. Drakes, I remember him preaching on this years ago. In all that get, so you can get a lot of knowledge. And it can become head knowledge. You can know what's right, you can know what's wrong, but you need to get understanding of why this is, and get like a kind of like a deeper foundational use for it. And so that's why you get understanding in everything that you do.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And then he went in there from there to obedience.
That's a tough one for me because I think sometimes I know it's right, but then actually following the law, following what God's word is saying it and doing is like not always the same thing.
But you know what helped me? It's so funny because last week, and I posted this on Facebook. So one of our youth pastors, our previous youth pastor, Pastor Maurice Huggins, Pastor Mo was, so a while back in small group, maybe like 2-3 years ago, he was like, I don't even know what he was talking about, but the line that he dropped, listen, that thing has been on my heart ever since he said it. He said, delayed obedience is still disobedience.
Whoa, that's good.
And I was just like,
say it one more again for the people in the back.
Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Wow. So when Pastor Mike Todd was just talking about like peace, an application, not an application, but some of the principles you can find in order to gain peace that you can start utilizing is like obedience. And then so when he said that, I started thinking, I'm like, in order for you to be obedient, you got to have knowledge and understanding.
It's like it all stacks on top of each other.
It all stacks on top of each other. Like in order for you to know that you need in order for you to know that you need to like pause and slow down and God is speaking to you and guiding you to do something, you have to have the knowledge of his word, understanding of how he speaks to you, how he talks to you, and then that Holy Spirit leading in you. You have to like know what that conviction feels like when God is truly telling you and guiding you to go do something. So it's like, no, we're not gonna delay the obedience, honey. I'm trying to get my rewards on the other end, whatever that is, Lord, honey, don't let me be delayed. So when he said that thing is delayed obedience is still disobedience.
Obedience, yeah, that's good.
Listen, if you don't have the knowledge, you don't even know you disobeying God. Come on.
You don't know, you're hurting what you don't know. And so that comes back to that balance with the principles. It all comes back to that. And then last but not least, application. We need to apply these principles to our life. So not only do we know them, not only do we understand them and obey them, but we need to put them to like our everyday actual practices. And can you think of any ways where you can, some of the things that you learned from this sermon, you could think of ways you can like physically apply this to your relationships?
Absolutely, absolutely. Out of those 5, or just in general?
Just in general.
So
one of the areas I definitely want to get bigger in and more strong in is actually getting more into my word. Right.
Yeah.
We're quarantined and it's pandemic, and so now I'm kind of forced to do it because I have so much free time. But once the economy opens back up and once the world returns to normal, I want to still have the same drive, the same
routine, and the same, So, and I would say the same thing for me. Right now, it's really been like, okay, so all of this stuff is being like spewed and thrown and like highlighted and shown to me. So it's just like, okay, the first thing that only makes sense of where to start to be able to get to the point to apply it is first you need to learn it.
Yeah.
Like you need to learn it and dig deep to find out what it is that he's even saying. So that for me, that's what it's been. It's been like every single night, let me get up in this, let me get up in the word, let me look up some of these scriptures, what he was talking about, because it's like if you don't simply know better, you can't do better. And I'm like, I genuinely want to do better. Like, show me, Lord, show me where you speaking at, show me where I'm lacking in my relationship with even you, the one who is in my moving, breathing, my everything. Like, show me where there's a disconnect there, so that disconnect with you don't flow over into everything else that I have intentions to do. So for me, it only makes sense to start with him. Yeah.
Preaching today. Preaching today. Preaching real good today.
Look, you're talking real good.
So I love this other point, moving along to a little bit further in his sermon. He says, we are paying for things that we do not get the full benefit of because we do not read the manual. I'm about to throw
Talk about that.
I'm about to throw
Break down manual to me. What is manual?
I love how he broke it down. So if I'll leave the link in the description. The sermon is amazing. You need to go watch it. But manual,
you need to go watch it.
You have to. So manual, that first subset, it means to make. And so the manufacturer has a factory and they made it. And so when you put manual, which is to make, with the manual, it's essentially the maker's thoughts. It's the maker's instructions. And that is essentially what the Bible is. It's what God, how he wants us to navigate our life and how he wants us to approach our relationships and how he wants us to love people and how he wants us to interact with people. And the reason why you read the manual is because it is the manufacturer's thoughts, and we truly get the maker's mind. So if you really want to know what God thinks, open up the word. Open up the word and it'll be there. And I love how he broke that down.
Listen, let me tell you what part took me out about the manual, honey. Have you ever like opened up something and it just be like, failure to read the manual can result in serious injury or death or damage? That took me out. Took me all the way out.
That part.
Listen, I had to pause the sermon and read it back. It took me all the way out, and I even had the ugly cry behind it, because when I thought about that thing, we don't realize like how much so many things that we do on a normal daily basis, how intertwined and intentional and divine like those different appointments are, and how crucial it is to like how Christ like moves, breathes, acts in every single thing. So it's just like okay, if a socket's wet and you plug up your stove or your whatever to it, it's a possibility that you can get electrocuted. Like we know that's principle. So but then when you think about, okay, so you trying to go get married, you ain't entered into this book, you don't know nothing about what God said about nothing, but I think I can figure this out, I'm gonna go do it anyway.
Wing it. Yeesh.
Yeah, so when you put that same mentality and same mindset to appliances and just things that you do on a daily, when we start applying that and being just as intentional about, this thing cost me $4,000, let me make sure I put this together right, when we start taking that same mindset and that same strong-headedness about the word of God, how amazing we would be.
Yeah.
You see, like that thing took me out. It's like, you don't pick up the word, so you just gonna go do that?
You're gonna try to wing it and make it work. And that's why so many marriage relationships end in divorce.
And it's just like, even if you take that and move away from relationships, take that with just moving, I'm just quit this job because they ain't got nothing for me left anyway. I'm done here. Okay, I'm not even gonna pray about this because they tell me that I can make such amount of money over here. but I'm done with this season. Right now, the money talking to me. You get over here, and now you working with some scammers. You being interviewed by the FBI. I'm making this off the top of my head. I ain't never been with this, y'all. But it's like you in some mess because you didn't consult God. Like you didn't consult and go back to the manual to talk to the Creator. Come on. Listen, y'all about to get me so excited about this thing. When he said that thing took me out because I thought about it. I was just like, how many times have I touched and went and did something off of my own knowledge, off of my own whatever, without consulting God, not even picking that book up and praying about it, not even seeking his word to see what he even said about different situations. I'm touching it blind and ignorant, walking into something thinking that I know how this works.
Like you know better than the maker who made these relationships. We are.
Come on, y'all. That thing took me out. And you know, I really thank God for being, I call it, I be like, God, you done gave me a whipping today. I thank God for the whippings. Yeah. Because y'all, the whippings.
What do you mean by that?
Huh?
What do you mean by that?
I'm gonna explain it. So for me, for y'all, I'll be like, I thank you, Lord, for the whippings, because those little smacks on the hand, when you think of him as the father, like I think of him, I'm like, okay, this is him. Like, no, come on, daughter. You know, your parents always give that smack on the hand and redirect you to something else. So I'm like, thank you, Lord, for the whippings, because it gave me that motivation, and this is what it's intended to do. God doesn't ever correct you to make you move and go further away. He does that to bring you back closer. So you know, listen, I have good intentions for you. You can go out here in the world. Nobody has the intentions for you like I have for you. So when God smacks me on the hand like that, yes, Daddy, what I done did. Help me. What I done did.
Forgive me.
How can I fix it? Help me make it right. Guide me, Father. So like for me, when he did that, I don't want to pick nothing else up without consulting you about what you made. Yeah. Who am I? I don't know better than you. You made it, not me. Listen, that thing took me out.
We think that the manufacturer, the maker of relationships, and we think we can do better than him. And so right. All times that I've entered into friendships, relationships, in anything, and just didn't consult God, and then it ends up going all the way sideways, and then you end up getting a smacking face like, well, I should have prayed on this a little bit more, should have consulted God. But thank God we have like a merciful God, someone who's always giving grace and mercy. When we keep messing up and over and over and over and over and over.
And every time he's like, come back. And that's a song that he continuously sings because he desires that relationship and that connection and that intimacy with us. Woo! That thing that did something to me, y'all. Good. That thing had me listen. And he even took it a step further, Pastor Mike Todd. He was like, relationships do not get better with time. They get better with knowledge.
Come on. I'm about to throw the laptop again. Throw the laptop again.
How many times we be like, oh, you know, time will tell. We'll just work it out. Time will tell. I'll give you some space and some time. You'll let me know. No.
Yeah.
No, people dying and leaving this world so fast every day, y'all. Relationships do not get better with time. They get better with knowledge. Yep. In order for you to do better, you got to know better. You need the knowledge in order to govern yourself throughout that thing.
Exactly. I'm thinking about all people who kind of don't know this. This is why I'm trying to spread this message to everybody, because there's some people who genuinely don't know. Some people didn't grow up in faithful households. Some people just truly don't know. So I think it's our job to kind of doing stuff like this where we put it on our social media platforms, trying to get the message out to as many people as possible. Because I think it's a big, scary world out there. It's like a lot of hurting people, kind of people, like you just mentioned earlier, going into relationships, just winging it. They're saying, well, we'll see what happens. If I get hurt, then I get hurt. But that's not like a way, like God has created this manual for us so that we can kind of avoid some of those pitfalls and keep moving forward into success. So
yeah. Manual. We definitely do. Because I think, you know, like Pastor Mike Todd talked about too, he's just like, how many times you see a picture? And I'm guilty of this, y'all. If you follow me on Instagram, I stay posting a couple and I'm like, relationship goals based upon like what I see and just what they show for social media. But I'm just like, and I'll think, oh, if I ever get into a relationship, that's a component that I want. I want that component. I want this component, and just start trying to build up my own stuff. But it's like, how can you have a relationship goal when you don't even know what to aim at?
Ooh.
Because you haven't spent time reading the manual.
Yeah. Yep.
So I really think
I think that's the overall objective of this whole sermon. Read the manual. And when we say the
manual, read the manual. Pick up that word. Get in this book. Get in this book, y'all. Read the manual. Read the manual. And there's nothing, huh?
A new Bible?
Oh no, that's my one that stays at home because it's so heavy. So when I study at home, that's what I use.
Multiple Bibles? You be in this multiple words. I got one. I'll stick to that one.
No, I got several. I got several study Bibles.
Good.
But you guys, like, I just challenge everybody because you know, I know everybody goes through so many different things in their life where they just feel so far gone. And I know I talked about that when we first opened up the video, but I feel so strongly about that especially when I run into so many people just like, oh, I used to go to church, or I used to have a relationship with God, but you know, God, I might knock on the door and talk to God and he probably won't answer because I've done this or I've done that. And y'all, there is nothing that you can do that can separate you from God. He desires a relationship with you. There's nothing that you can do to stop God from loving you. Nothing whatsoever that you can do. And you know, Jesus went and died for you, died for all of us on a cross over 2,000 years ago. And even with the nonsense that you do right now, with you feeling so far away from God, he still would have done it just for you. So like, get into that word. I encourage everybody who's watching this, get around some people who may be a little bit more spiritually stronger than you right now. Latch on to them and just take the ride and really, really start getting back to life. And I'm not talking about just life, you know, in the physical aspect as we know it, but life in the spiritual realm. Start getting back to peace. Start sleeping better at night. There's so many different attacks that are upon us, so many different things that we're facing as people and as a nation. Like, right now is the time. Like, if you're watching this video and you know you're struggling in some aspect and your relationship is not right with God, y'all, message Quentin like right now. Pause the video, message him right now, because right now is the time. Like, you can never be that far removed or that far in your own mess and in your own head that you think that God does not love you or want you. Yeah, I feel so strongly about that thing, y'all.
Really, too. That's such a reassuring, you know, that like our great big Father is always there to open us and welcome us. And
yes,
our biggest confidant. I love it, man. Yes. What else? Any other final closing thoughts that you have in the sermon, or Pastor Mike Todd, or maybe something you've read in the book? How far along are you?
I'm on the second page, because I got a whooping for my friends. Y'all, everybody just likes to whip me, saying don't move along without me. But let me tell y'all, let me take a first page out of the book, y'all. Talk and aim, okay? So he's talking about what are you aiming at? You want relationship goals, what's your aim? The first thing, this is how he wants to get into, what's the word? How he wants to get on your level, right? God's plan. God's plan. I can't do this on my own.
All right, Drake. Hashtag Drake.
Okay, Apostle Drake. Okay, Apostle Drake. Listen, and the book starts off just like that. The first chapter, y'all. So at first, I don't know about y'all. Like, I like to read, but I don't like to read. Yeah. So when you take somebody as funny as Pastor Mike Todd, and he put like exactly how he acts into a book and into the devotional. If you guys haven't done a devotional, he has a 5-day devotional on a relationship goal. When he takes exactly his personality and add it to all that stuff, it's just as much fun as watching him as it is reading his words, because you can just hear it in the way that he talks. So my final closing notes would be, y'all, get on board. If you don't get the book, go watch the sermons. Yep. If you don't watch the sermons, do the Bible plan, but do something, because listen, the sermons is free. The Bible plan is free. Yep. I encourage you to buy the book. But he said, even if you don't buy this book, the book is a representation of the manual. And what's the manual? The Word of God. Okay.
That's it. grab
That's
that,
it.
come to the word, and that's it. It's
That's
good.
it.
I'm so excited. The series, Pastor Mike Todd, he's like, it's so good at having these long series. So we'll see how long this is. But like, I'm here for the ride. I already put on my seatbelt and I'm ready. This is only week 1. And I'm just fired up. Week 1. So I can only imagine how much it's gonna get better and better and better over time. So.
And see, we look not this time because usually we'll catch on to him in a series like midway. So we always have to go back and catch up, y'all. We in the running this time. Listen, because me and Quinn have already watched Relationship Goals Reloaded 1 multiple times already. Exactly. So y'all, it's good. God is good, and I'm just really excited about what God is going to do in this season on the other end of the series and on the other end of this book. So this book has a study guide that goes to it as well. So if y'all are trying to really be transformed by the renewing of your mind, honey, and listen, by your spirit, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you think, concerning all things Christ and just how relationships work in general, Pastor Mike Todd need to pay us, first of all, Quinn.
You're like the biggest spokesman. Like, I would love to go there and meet him. We're just going to put it out in the atmosphere. Pastor Mike Todd, if you're listening to this, we love your word. Thanks so much for being a blessing to our life. We love to, and you should get us flued out, okay? I've never been to Oklahoma.
We need to be flued out.
Have you been?
We trying to come to your church.
So you can make it happen. Transformation Nation, make it happen. Okay, we ready.
Look, TC Nation, make it happen. But no, like, seriously, y'all. Jump in somewhere. You won't be dissatisfied. Promise.
It'll be good. But hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, I'm Quentin Torbert. This is Fantasia. What's your Instagram? What's your social media?
Y'all can follow me on Instagram. It's at Slay Your Life. Slay Your and then life spelled L-Y-F-E. Follow your girl.
Perfect. And then I'm Quentin, and then I haven't been on social media in a minute. My social media is at great_things.
Y'all, he'll put it in the description bar.
I'm pretty great with the Q. QREAT_things.
I think that's what it is. And y'all,
I've been taking a little bit of a break from Instagram, so I've enjoyed not being on it.
He has. If y'all want Quentin to post more videos for y'all,
I need to.
Y'all, thumbs up this video. Put some comments down below. Tell my mans, y'all been missing seeing him on the screen.
No. And I'm
encourage him.
No facial hair. Next time you see me, I'll have like a full beard because I go much without filming.
He be skipping from different age groups and going back and forth.
1 year later. Yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for your time, and we will see you in the next video.